I'm very excited to be here today to talk about the future of customer experience with Brian Solis. Without further ado, welcome, Brian. I'm very excited to be here with you today. If there is something that we both emphasized in our presentations, is that we keep talking about experiences all the time. We are talking about customer experience and user experience. We even defined the year of experiences. But we never stop for 1 minute to think, what is an experience? What is the definition of an experience? In one of your presentations, you mentioned that we say experience the same way we say innovation or disruption, right? Now, from a psychological perspective, experience is the interaction between a subject and a stimulus that is influenced by a personal interpretation, meaning that it's not about the customer, and it's not even about the product or the design. It's about what happens in the interaction between the two. And in your words, experience is something we feel, something we sense, something we interpret, and it is measured by how we react to it. And this is brilliant. Now, from your experience, in your role, consulting to the world's largest brands, where do you think they are in the journey to understanding human behavior and experience and to integrate this understanding into the digital channels?
There's a lot of momentum for how we got to where we are today. But because the consumerization of technology has been so profound and so accelerated, it just happened so quickly that people didn't realize that they had to do anything differently. But also there's a bigger problem. Executives today are highly paid and highly rewarded for delivering shareholder value or stakeholder value, right? So their incentive isn't to take money away from shareholder return and put it into the company to change, but there has to be some type of new board, some type of new incentive to tell executives, look, if you continue with performance in business as usual and you continue to deliver shareholder value without looking at how you compete for the future, then we're going to disincentivize you, right? That hasn't happened yet, and I think that's where the conversation is going to start to go. But it's really putting into place leaders and managers who are going to hold businesses to a new standard. And that's the hardest part, because most leaders and managers are basically doing their job. It's managing the growth of business at scale. And that's why our policies, our processes, human resources, our culture is a management infrastructure. However, what I don't want to see happen is a lot of businesses die off, which is what we're starting to see all over the world. Yeah. I want to see those businesses have a fighting chance at doing something, but unfortunately they're in their own way.
Now, in a report that Forrester recently released, they wrote that brands that want to break away from the pack should focus on emotions. And we both know that how an experience makes customer feel has a bigger influence on the loyalty to a brand than ease of use or effectiveness in nearly every industry. And we know that the mechanism is that emotions shape what we remember from an experience. How important is understanding mindsets and emotions as we move to 2018?
You and I get it. Many of us understand that emotions are important because we all feel them. It's always been fascinating to me that when we go to work, we lose that sense of appreciation for emotions. It's almost like the entire organization is devoid of feelings. But that's true. I mean, think about that. Every aspect of how we work was designed at a time where we just didn't care. It was just really about business. That's why don't take that expression, don't take it personal, it's just business, used to exist. But of course we want to take it personal, because how else would we take it? I want you to think about this. Emotions, whether they're good or bad, they become memories, right? And memories are, especially in a digital world, timeless.
Yeah.
And also, we share our memories. Think about your day, a life without a mobile device. It would almost seem like you didn't live, in the sense that we share everything that happens to us today. And so those experiences, whether they're good or bad, become memories. And those memories, whether they're good or bad, become shared. And what's shared becomes the source of how someone else makes a decision, because they see that and they feel it with you, because that's the thing that binds us. Experiences bind us together. Emotions bind us together. So businesses have to now think about, how do they implement emotional KPIs within their journey, within their work, within, not just for customers, but also for employees? You know, if you look at employees, they will tell you that the one thing that they define what makes them come to work is happiness, right? That's an emotion. It's not a paycheck.
No.
So we do live in a time where Forrester's research is right on, but it's also nothing new. We're all human beings. And I think that's what we're fighting for within the organizations, actually fighting for people.
Yeah, definitely. Now, when we talk about the person on the other side of the screen, more often than not, we are talking about mobile experiences. Now, mobile became an extension of one's body. And in our research, we found that people behave differently in mobile and in desktop. Now, mobile and desktop trigger different type of experiences. They fulfill different needs. And we behave more emotionally in mobile. So how well do you think brands are shifting their attention to this new evolution of human behavior, and how they can deliver mobile-first experiences?
Many brands believe that they're dealing mobile-first experiences because they're designed for mobile screens. So, you know, we shifted from e-commerce to mobile commerce. We shifted from a desktop website to a mobile site. But I don't think many companies at all, except for those that are very few, such as, I don't know, Lego or Apple, I don't think businesses are designing for emotions. They're not even designing for experiences. And that is because they haven't had to do that before. And it's also because they've been successful not doing it. Right. But those who are winning are already learning how to deliver experiences. And this is what I call experience architecture, is what do you want someone to feel when they think about your business, when they think about your brand? Because most of the time, people have a reluctant relationship with the companies that they work with. And that's not okay. People want to feel that they're special, that they're getting personal engagement, that they're appreciated. The fact that this hasn't happened sooner is just simply because consumers and customers haven't demanded that it happen sooner, but now it's happening in great waves. So that means that to get there, we have to understand, what do people value, what do people love, regardless of the industry, and how do we design for those experiences? If our brand was an experience, what would it be? Today, brands don't have that answer. They have a brand style guide, so it's imagery, it's messaging, it's all of these things that don't necessarily get inside of another person. So experience architecture is where this discussion starts. And it's looking at what that should feel like, and then that should be the sheet of music, if you will, for every piece of the journey, so that everybody's working towards that touch point, contributing up to what that experience should be, what that experience should feel like. I think that's the future of it.
Yeah, right. Now, let's talk about innovation behind mobile. And we know that today there is a rise of many new technologies, AI and VR and NLP and IoT, that are going to further change the experience landscape over the coming years. Now, how can we utilize these technologies to add value and create a more humanized experiences instead of just further automate the services that we have to deal with today?
Well, that starts with purpose, right? I mean, because that's exactly what's happening. You have, for example, AI being implemented right now in a lot of chatbots or customer service or support or sales implementations, but they're based on iteration. They're taking existing processes and putting new technology on top of those processes. That sucks. And I don't know what it's going to take to get someone to realize that these new technologies are gifts. In my way, they're opportunities to create new worlds, to create new experiences. If you can have an intelligent platform understand who you're talking to and understand their past behaviors, and not just communicate with them, but lead them to experiences that are going to be personalized, you would have a very loyal customer. But that takes, to even deliver something as simple as that, fixing the back end of all of the different groups that don't share data, that don't talk to one another, bringing them together in the way that a lot of innovative companies are working today so that they can deliver an integrated experience based on how somebody wants. So we have to fix a lot of the back end so that these new technologies can do their job.
Thank you. There is a big buzz today around personalization, right? Now, personalization is basically the realization that we have different type of customers, so we have to provide them with different type of experiences. But apparently, we are not so successful in doing so, and more often than not, personalization is confused with targeting. Now, over the last 10 years, I believe, every year was supposed to be the year of personalization. But it wasn't, and it wasn't because we don't think people, we think data. In order to understand people, we have to think people, because personalization is really about empathy. It's about understanding that behind the numbers, there are people, and behind the data points, there are thought processes. So how can we teach brands to be more empathic?
How much time do you have? Let's see. You used a very important word, a word that I believe needs to be used more, which is empathy. And essentially, that word could describe my entire presentation. It's stepping outside of your world to see the world through someone else's eyes and their emotions, and then to try to deliver experiences that they would value. Today, we assume what it is that they would value based on behaviors. And unfortunately, data is as important as it is. Today we misuse it. Data right now, it's an art and a science, but just because we have data, it doesn't necessarily give us the insights that we need to be innovative, because a lot of data just validates the biases in our beliefs that we have today, because we're not challenging our own questions. We're not thinking differently about how we can use data differently. So I think the challenge is that we have to see people differently. And we have to then use that data to bring those people to life in scalable ways, right? I think today we use a lot of demographics to help us understand segmentation. Then we invest in technologies and strategies to try to personalize against that segmentation. But anybody who's ever been on the receiving end of an email from a brand knows that there's zero personalization in that. The challenge is the word itself. Is like the word innovation and experience. It's like you have to break it down to its basics again. What is personalization? It can only mean something that understands who I am, what I value, what I don't value, and that I'm engaged with that already in place, so that the next step of the conversation is taking me to a place where I want to go, not bringing me back through the whole cycle again. And unfortunately, it became a buzzword. Right now, there's a trend called extreme personalization, where AI is helping companies assess past behaviors so that there can be true personal engagement, right time, right message, right device, etc. But it wasn't until artificial intelligence came along that smart marketers and smart brands started to think, wow, we can use artificial intelligence to actually be more human. But the platforms are having to do the job for people because people aren't thinking that way.
Thank you so much, Brian. Everyone, big thank you to Brian Solis.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.